Hello, everybody. My name is Michael Bissell, and I'm a third-year student here at NC State.
Hi, and I'm Santiago Morris. I am a senior here at NC State.
And we are coming to you live to talk with the top winners from the 2020 Lulu eGames, which is NC State's annual startup competition. And we are finally here with the founders of Kalia Health. And we just want to say thank you guys so much for your time and congratulations on your big win in the eGames this year. And so let's just jump right in with the introduction from you guys.
Great. Well, thank you so much for being here. My name is Denali. I'm a third-year PhD candidate studying biomedical engineering in the joint program between NC State and UNC. I'm the CEO and the co-founder of Kalia Health, and my co-founder here is Happy.
Hi, thanks for your time. I am Happy. I am the head of product development for Kalia Health, and I work on this startup full-time.
Awesome. It's so good to have you here with us. So for our viewers that do not know about Kalia Health, will you please just give us a little introduction, tell us what your venture is all about?
Yeah, so Kalia Health is a biotech startup dedicated to improving maternal health outcomes by increasing access to care for conditions such as preeclampsia. Preeclampsia is a hypertensive pregnancy complication and the second leading cause of maternal mortalities in the US and worldwide, despite the condition being straightforward to treat when detected early. Part of the ongoing problem is that the early signs and symptoms of preeclampsia can be subtle, often leaving women unaware of the developing complication until it's reached a very severe stage. And this is especially true for women who aren't able to access regular prenatal care, often due to socioeconomic barriers. And so we are developing a home-based urine test that women can use to periodically self-screen for the early onset of preeclampsia so they know when to seek care before the complication becomes severe.
It's a great idea. And so building off of that, what would you say your biggest need right now is, or your next big step, and how will your winnings from the eGames help you get there?
Yeah, so our next step, at this time we have like a raw prototype, a proof of concept prototype, and we've done some background clinical work. But in order to get this device optimized and working the way it needs to, we actually need to do a little bit more background clinical work. So there's two big things that we need to make that happen. One of those is partnerships. We're always looking for clinical collaborators to help us get this work done. Those who are interested, OBGYNs essentially, and other clinicians that are interested in improving access to women's health would make great partners. And also the other side of that is funding, which of course is how our winnings from the Lulu eGames would help us. Essentially, it'll help us take one of the first steps in that clinical work without getting too technical. It'll get us to the next milestone of what we need so that we know what needs to go, a little bit more specifically what needs to go into our diagnostic.
Okay, cool. I like that you talked about some of your challenges that you've had, and going off of that, what were some of the challenges that you faced when preparing for the eGames? Like, clearly you came out the winner, but what was like one of the biggest things that you were trying to work on during the presentation?
I think so. Happy and I are both trained as engineers and global health researchers. And so I think for us, the most challenging part was being able to articulate our business plan really well. I think going into this project, we had a lot of big ideas for, we want to do all sorts of things with this diagnostic. We want to have this kind of impact. And from the technology side, as well as being able to evaluate it as, a public health, global health tool, I think we were able to do that really well. But the part that was most challenging for us was understanding how do you create a business around that and being able to articulate those business development and financial pieces to make it possible.
Awesome. With going off of that, would you say that there was any aspect of your business that you now know you need to work on after you receive feedback from the judges at the eGames?
Yeah, so I think, as Denali was saying, we do know that the business expertise is where we need the most help, and that's sort of what the feedback reflected. The feedback did help us get a little bit more specific. One of the challenges was certainly incorporating all of the information we wanted when it was a 5-page business plan, as opposed to like trimming it down from the 20 pages we had or something. So it's hard to know what is the most relevant information to include. So I think, for us, with what we care about, we did spend a lot of effort in the details, the technical details, as well as the social argument. But I think in terms of like fundraising being one of our main goals, we need to put more emphasis on specifics of the financials and our development timeline, specifically right in the business plan.
Okay, cool. I'm glad you were able to get that feedback from the judges and, create a plan to work on it from there. We actually have a question from the audience, and one that I was actually curious about myself. This is a pretty specific technology, and I actually have never heard of this problem before. So like kind of what was your motivation to pursue this challenge?
I can start with that. So the idea for this project actually came from a class that Happy and I took. We both did our master's in global health at Duke University. And so during our time there, we had the chance to take this transcontinental engineering design course where we were paired up with students from Macquarie University in Kampala, Uganda. And the goal of that course was to develop a healthcare technology idea to address a pressing global health challenge. And so through the course of our time with our teammates there, we decided to focus on preeclampsia because unlike a lot of other health complications, there are very straightforward ways to manage it and ways to treat it. And so really one of our big questions was, why is this such an ongoing problem when better solutions exist and it doesn't need to have such a detrimental impact? And so through some of our early conversations with physicians, we found that OBGYNs especially were really concerned about getting women into the clinic earlier in the disease progression, especially when they weren't able to attend regular prenatal care visits. And so with that in mind, that's really where this idea for a home-based diagnostic test came from. And so through working on this project idea, we realized that it was an issue originally, in Uganda where our attention was focused, but we realized that, this is really a global problem. People, women are getting pregnant all over the world, all over the US, and aren't being able to access the prenatal care they need, or even when they are, this complication is still sometimes missed. And so we realized that the need for this product was much bigger than that. And so right now we have sort of two focuses of that. We'd love to address the US markets, the US population, as well as be able to have an impact on a global scale eventually as well.
Wow, that is very impressive. That's awesome to hear. And we actually have another audience question too. And so if everything goes according to plan, do you guys see yourself branching out to other similar health concerns? Like if this aspect of your business is successful, or what would that look like?
Yeah, so we've thought about this a lot and in a couple of different ways. Yes, of course, we would love to branch out to other health concerns. If we're being quite literal to the technology we're working on right now, the lateral flow assay technology that we're using to diagnose preeclampsia, you can use that same technology in other formats. So one of the most obvious next steps, obvious to the technology and based on how related these are, would be to test for gestational diabetes. That's also when we were doing our customer discovery, preeclampsia and gestational diabetes were in the top 3 concerns that doctors listed. And then the other side of that is, of course, working on other aspects of the business to make healthcare more accessible. So whether that's, partnering with clinics to find ways to make sure this home use diagnostic, among other home use products, are delivered to women who aren't able to access care, working with NGOs that do implementation studies. So there's, or whether it's a subscription box that provides home use care. There's many ways to go about this, and we aren't finalized, but we have a lot of ideas on how we would like to expand if this goes well.
Awesome. And before we start wrapping things up, one last thing. You are the one of the winners for the 2020 eGames. What advice would you have for someone that's watching you live right now and thinking about being in the eGames next year?
I would say that if you have an idea, go for it. I think, especially being in an academic environment, especially as an undergrad, I was always sort of under the impression where it's oh, when I'm older, I'm going to be able to do this thing, or when I grow up, I'll have all the answers and I'll be ready to, develop the ideas and save the world and, whatever it is that you want to do. But I think opportunities like the Lulu eGames really provide a chance for students to be able to bring their dreams to life right now. And I think that's such a cool idea. Like, you don't have to wait until you're older, until you graduate to do whatever it is you want to do in the world. You can start right now.
Awesome. Well, that's all I have for you. What about you, Michael?
Yes, I just want to say thank you so much, and that is pretty much all the time we have for the questions. So if you guys want to give a special shout out or anybody, but pretty much.
Yeah. Well, I think we got to this point with a ton of support from a lot of different people over the years. So it's definitely been a group effort, and we're very fortunate to be in this position.
Perfect. Well,
Yeah.
it sounds
And
like.
of course, we'd also like to.
Go ahead.
Sorry, didn't mean to cut you off there. Just going to say thank you to NC State entrepreneurship team for providing us this opportunity.
Well, that's very exciting. Sounds like you guys have a lot to be excited about. So I just want to thank you guys so much again for being here, Kalia Health. And seriously, guys, congratulations on all your hard work and success in the eGames and in your future endeavors. And once again, everybody who's listening, thank you guys so much for tuning in. And our next interview will be with Thermoelectrics tomorrow at 3 p.m. So once again, thank you guys very much.
And thank you.
All right.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.